The Holy Book, Sefer Hayashar, Episode 40. God, create me within a pure heart, and renew within me an amended spirit. Tehillim 51.12. The great luminary, Rabbi Moshe Alshach, Zechar Lebracha, explains that David HaMelech was praying to be spared from reincarnation. Ordinarily, whoever fails to acquire perfection while he is here must return to another body to complete the task. Therefore, David HaMelech pleaded that he be spared this fate, asking that Hashem renew his spirit while it was still within him, instead of first causing him to die and then returning his soul to earth in another body. Indeed, you should know that the rectification of the soul can be accomplished through two different processes. In the first one, a person does not have to die and be reborn in another body to accomplish rectification. Instead, while he is still alive, a second soul, in addition to the one he already has, enters his body. This new soul joins with his original one as a fetus is joined with its mother. For this reason, this is known as the gestation procedure. And just as a fetus is covered over and concealed within its mother, so is the new soul covered over and concealed within the person's original soul until the damage to his soul has been rectified. When this has been accomplished, the new soul then departs for a place of repose that is fitting to it. This form of rectification is not a severe one. But if the damage he caused was great, it can be rectified only by the reincarnation of his soul alone in a new body, where it must remain for many days. Sometimes the loss he suffers through this process is greater than his gain, because in his new body he may not only fail to rectify his soul's existing blemishes, but may actually bring upon it more serious ones through his sins and transgressions. This is a great misfortune for the soul. There is one commandment in particular that people consider of minor significance, but which carries a very severe penalty. That is the one regarding the returning of the lost objects to the owners. If a person sees a lost item belonging to his colleague and fails to retrieve it in order to return it, is compelled to undergo reincarnation in a newly conceived fetus, after which he must endure many years of affliction and suffering. For this offense is not sufficient for him to undergo the less severe method of rectification, the gestation procedure, in which a new soul is covered over by and concealed within the original soul. The Arizal explains in Sefer Hagilgolim that this is because he violated the verse, and so shall you do to all the lost objects of your brother. And you may not conceal your eyes, Devarim 22.3. For the Holy One, blessed is he, always judges a person measure for measure. Therefore, whoever fears Hashem and trembles before him should pray to be spared from reincarnation. The masses may consider it a minor punishment, but the wise will contemplate the matter and realize that even if he is reincarnated in the body of an upright individual, it would have been better had he already reached his resting place. For the sages tell us that a single moment of the satisfaction one experiences in the next world is better than all the pleasures that this world has to offer. Avos 4.17. Now, consider the fact that he may very well be reborn into more oppressive circumstances, such as the body of an animal or a bird, or even an inanimate object. For example, one who habitually engages in derogatory speech is reincarnated in a rock, lying in a field where he remains in darkness with no illumination. Similarly, a person who is careless about consuming food of doubtful permissibility is reborn in the leaves of a tree, so that every time the wind blows, he is tossed about, causing him indescribable agony. A communal official who lords over the populace arrogantly is reincarnated in the body of a bee. There he is punished moment after moment, enduring more sorrow than he would in Gehenna. This is because he is confined in a very narrow place, wallowing in venom. And this is the only for the sin of pride. But if in his arrogance he committed other evils, such as humiliating those who came to seek out his services and the like, for these crimes he will have to endure other punishments described in the Kabbalistic works. May Hashem spare us. One who pursues licentious behavior is reincarnated as a prostitute. Then every time someone engages in immorality with her, the soul that is within her is defiled more and more, causing it further and further devastation until its desolation is as great as the sea. The terrible afflictions and sorrows that it endures cannot be expressed in words. More details concerning reincarnation will be related in future chapters with heaven's help. But worse than what has been described so far is the experience of reincarnation in an impure animal or bird. There the soul sits in darkness and sorrow, suffering terrible and bitter afflictions surrounded by the stench of its bowels and intestines. Meanwhile, at every moment it is subjected to judgments more terrible than those of Gehenna. Nevertheless, it is not spared from punishment in Gehenna once the process of incarnation is completed. Here is an episode that I found recorded in the name of the Arizal, Shivchei HaArizal. In the town of Tzfas lived a certain young man who was the nephew of Rabbi Yehoshua the physician. He was 18 years old at the time this incident took place and was studying in yeshiva. One time, the Arizal happened to see him, whereupon he commented to the boy's father, "Your son is possessed by an evil spirit. See to it that you find a cure for him and do not spare any money." The boy's father responded, "He's not possessed, heaven forbid, although for the past 2 years he has suffered from pain in his heart. Whenever his heart is very weak, Rabbi Yehoshua the physician treats him and he recovers for a time, but eventually the pain always returns." The Ari retorted, "You will see that I am correct." Not long afterwards, the spirit revealed itself and began speaking from within the young man. As soon as the Ari was informed of this, he came and inquired of the spirit how it happened to enter the young man. The spirit replied, "This is how the matter came about. When I lived in Rome, I shared lodgings with a poor man who was dependent upon charity. In his house, he had neither bread nor any other food. One day the poor man asked me for bread, but I refused to give him any, and he died of hunger before my eyes. On account of this, the heavenly court decreed that I must die just as the poor man had died. And so it happened that not long afterwards, thieves came and killed me, after which I came and entered this young man." The Ari decreed that the spirit must not cause the young man any harm, heaven forbid. But the spirit said to him, "If you wish me to abandon this youth, I will do so on one condition. After I leave, he must not see the face of a female for 3 days. If he violates this condition, I will kill him." Then the spirit left. The Ari, Zecher Livracha, issued instructions that a guard be placed over the young man while he sit in the study hall, for he knew that the spirit was lying in wait to see if the condition would be fulfilled. At one point, the guard, the leader of the generation, our teacher, Rab Chaim Vital, Zecher Livracha, left the study hall to make preparations for his Rosh Chodesh feast, leaving Rabbi Yehoshua the physician in his place. But eventually, he too went out to attend some urgent matter, leaving his nephew alone in the study hall. In the meantime, the boy's mother and aunt came to see him. When they found him, they went over to him and kissed him. At that very moment, the spirit returned to him and strangled him. When the Ari heard what had transpired, he was concerned that the Gentile authorities would claim that the Jews had killed the young man. So with the help of 2 reeds, he condensed his journey and arrived instantaneously in the city of Tiberias, accompanied by his disciples. It was twilight, and the Ari prayed that the mouths of their accusers be silenced. And so it was. Afterwards he returned to Tzfas. May it be rebuilt speedily in our days. In light of this episode, one can imagine the punishment awaiting the man who gazes at strange women. For this youth only looked at his mother and his aunt, yet look what befell him. How much more so if one stares at women to whom he is not related. Concerning this did the sages say, whoever engages in too much idle talk with a woman causes evil to himself. Pirkei Avos 1.5. It is also very praiseworthy for a man to avoid seeing them even from a distance by directing his gaze downward at all times. This was the custom of the pious of early generations. Their eyes were always directed downwards, towards the earth, while they prayed for the unification of the Holy One, blessed is He, and His Shekhinah. For the 4 colors of the eye hint the 4 letters of the divine name. Tikkunim 70, 128a. While the earth, Eretz, hints at the Shekhinah, which is known as the Holy Land, Eretz HaKodesh, because it is holier than all the lands. Zohar 3.243b. Thus it is written, my eyes are upon the faithful of the earth, that they may dwell with me. Tehillim 101.6. But concerning the haughty-eyed and avaricious-hearted, the Holy One, blessed is He, says, him I cannot. Ibid 101.5. That is, I cannot join with him because he separates between those that were joined. The Holy One, blessed is He, and the Shekhinah. Whoever allows his gaze to fall upon forbidden sights draws the Sitra Achra upon him and does himself great harm, for he causes himself to possess an evil eye, thereby bringing a curse upon himself, as well as all those upon whom he gazes. Thus the sages proclaim that 99 out of 100 die of the evil eye, Bava Metzia 107b, by which they mean that they are harmed by the gaze of other people. All this is brought about by gazing at idolatry, for it is forbidden to look even at an idolatrous statue. Instead, let a person habituate himself to gazing at holy things, as I have already mentioned in chapter 2. Another lesson to be derived from this chapter is that a person should never ignore an appeal for charity. For when the Spirit failed to sustain the poor man in the episode related above, allowing him to die before his eyes, it was decreed that he also would be killed. Then on account of this sin, he was condemned to suffer the punishment of the slingshot, resulting in the transformation into a spirit, as related earlier. Therefore, let every person develop a compassionate heart, and let him immerse his heart and eyes and the rest of his limbs in holy matters. Then he will merit beholding the Shekhinah with his eyes 3 times a year. Amen.